All right. We have, hang on, let me fix this. Yeah, there we go.
Oops.
All righty. That'll do it. Okay, we're live. We're going live. We're live on some of the platforms, but it takes a little bit. I'm going to play the intro real quick.
Brilliant.
Be right back. Sorry, user error. Hello, Jay. Hello, Jake in Switzerland. Hello, everybody. We got the beautiful Denise Chadwick with us. And, everything is sequentially unfolding in perfect sense. And so yesterday we received something in the mail from Denise, and it's pretty cool. It's not the first thing we've gotten from her, but I'm going to see if I can get these. It's kind of hard to see them, but there's that one you can see better. Isn't that magnificent? You really got to stare at them, like parts of them.
Yeah, that one's a bit full on. It's
Yeah.
a code explosion, that one.
So I wanted to read part of this, what she wrote. Okay. But I think first I should sing happy birthday to you. Because you are the master builder number, right? Ascended master number, right? 55.
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Denise. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you. What an honor.
Oh, what an honor to have you on your birthday.
Oh,
So
44 as we're saying that.
What's that?
There was 44 as we were saying that. 44 live.
There you go. Yeah, 44 live. To Todd and Morgan and the Golden Child, Soulogy. I am eternally grateful for all I've received from Soulogy and yourselves, for all the connections I've made, for my expansion and growth, and for the 2 years of you for your service to all. I am deeply honored to create these as an expression of my endless gratitude and love. Thank you for all you do and for birthing Soulogy. Infinite love and blessings to you both and to Soulogy. These are the Soulogy Trinity codes. It's not the first thing that Denise has done for Soulogy. She did abundance codes, a series of abundance codes. And abundance is a big part of the Soulogy message. A lot of you know that after Morgan and I had our divine union ceremony and she went back to Australia, I went home to Houston and got a visit from the Arcturians and was introduced to what they called 5D commerce, which is, abundance is another word for it because it's not just money. So there is a correlation between people's intentions from the heart and what actually materializes. It's not a one-man show or a one-woman show. So, I just want to say thank you. And it's an honor to receive your energy in both the energetic and the physical form. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Oh, straight to the heart. Straight
Yeah,
to the
I know.
heart with that one. Oh, 55.
Here we go. 55, 44, 55. We're going to be at 66 pretty soon.
There was a bit of a funny story. I think I wrote it in those codes. So the purple ones, the ones with the purple ink, I started those. Those are Unity codes, and they're the second set of Unity codes that I did. And I thought, because the first ones were so painful to birth, I thought these would be easier. And I think I started around October with them. I was wrong. Everything went into separation. My whole life kind of went into separation. Lots of people that I was close to kind of, there became distance between us. And when I was doing them, like the first set of Unity codes, I just didn't like them. I didn't like, it was a new pen. I've not used that purple pen before. It was a bit thicker than normal, and I just didn't like it. There was part of it that just reminded me, especially as in the lead up to Christmas, it looked like a Christmas jumper. And I'm like, I don't like these codes. I'm trying to show my appreciation here. And then I washed up and I got a wet sleeve, and, unprofessional. I got the, there's like a tiny crinkle in the bottom where the water was. And I was like, right, that's it. I'm just throwing these codes in the bin and I'm going to start a new set. But no, the guidance was to keep going with them.
Yeah.
And once I've mirrored them, they often make more sense. Like I like them a little bit more, but they are like a code explosion. They're quite full on. And the other set turned out to be a set of Trinity codes, which again is so appropriate for Soulogy. Like both of them, you're really unifying people. You're really bringing people together. But the Golden Child, the Trinity is you three. It's you and Morgan and Soulogy. And in regards to the water, the guidance was that was not by mistake, because there's a lot of fire in those codes. Like they're quite full on.
Yes. So there. Isn't that where the water was? Is that where the water was?
That might have happened in transit. Actually, it was at the bottom.
Oh, that's okay. I thought you said that it had put a hole in it, but there you go. But it's still part of it too. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
It's a portal. It's a portal.
And the water, it was like, because the codes are so fiery, water wanted to be present, and not just in the form of like waves. Water wanted to be present in actual form to balance out some of the fire. So yeah, and I loved creating the Trinity codes. Like they were a real joy to do. And I love the mirrored ones from both of those, actually, but especially from the Trinity ones.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting about the fire and the water, because, our friend Zavetta Da Vinci, she downloaded what she calls the Da Vinci spiral from Leonardo da Vinci for over about 2 or 3 years. And it's a reading that's based on the seasons, the elements, the timelines, and a bunch of other stuff. And when she did mine, then she did Morgan's, and she did ours together. And I think we actually did them online. But she said, you're already fire, and you're going into, I think there's 7-year periods or 9-year periods. And I was coming out at this time, coming out of whatever the last period was, and I'm moving into a triple fire.
Wow.
Which is like unheard of. It's usually a double fire. And Morgan was water, and then picking up some fire through this period, right? So when you say the fire and the water, I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. The clues are everywhere, right?
The water's been really interesting for me recently. You had Seth on, who was talking about Vida Austin.
Yeah.
And a few weeks before that, I'd been introduced to her work and bought her book online. And if you buy her book online, she gives you the way she gives you the formula for doing the freezing of the water. And I've been spending a lot of time with my hands in water because I've had quite a lot of discomfort in my hands and inflammation. And I've been using one of my crystal singing bowls with water in it for hours sometimes, like, you know, for 3 hours. So often when I'm watching your shows, I've got my hands in the water in the crystal bowl. So I developed quite a relationship with water and you know, quite a strong interaction with water that got deeper in the freezing of the water as well. You know, some of the images that are created in that Vida's been doing are they're just absolutely incredible. It's unbelievable what water is creating in discussion with Vida. You know, she may put thoughts in, she may just put it on top of an image. Oh, you'll like this one. She did one the other day. She'd watched Gary Cook's movie. And in that movie, it's actually a friend of mine who's now in the UK. She was in New Zealand. When they filmed that, they didn't realize, but they actually filmed some little beings in that.
Is that right?
It's an amazing documentary.
Which Gary Cook video is it? Is it a full-length movie?
It's the one that's on Gaia.
Okay. Yeah. I know which one that is. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure.
Christian Van Veek, I think, is the director. I hope I've not butchered her name there. So the fairies appear in that, and in this particular image of water, you can see very clearly a little face, like in an oval shape. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's, you know, there's something to be said for the visibility of the dimensions closest to us, like the elementals not fading in, but like we're kind of hitting the same bandwidth at the same time on the outskirts of theirs and the outskirts of ours. And it's just going to become more and more of our reality.
Yeah, I've definitely been getting a nudge to be more of an ambassador for them. I haven't done this yet. I'm not quite sure how to approach it, but some kind of videos where, you know, I don't know, but something about fairies and how to connect with them. I need a new phone. I'm gonna be getting one soon, I think, but my phone has got so little memory that I have to like delete apps just to work on photographs. Like, you know, this is all the mirrored work that I do is on this tiny little phone, and it's been putting me off a little bit because I don't have enough memory to film things. And always doing things live is awesome to push yourself. But if I want to think a little bit more clearly, it's probably not the best way for me to do it because it adds a whole extra dimension of, you know, nerves and you know, people as well. Like sometimes you just want to like.
Well, we are alchemizers. I mean, I can see both ways. I can see both ways. If I look at, you know, what people do, and again, you know, some people would prefer to write and prefer not to even write, just prefer to do what they do in their own way. But the people that, because the video audio part of it to me, and then you throw in the live. So you're adding 3 frequencies there. And the live is kind of a kicker because the live you can go either way. And I think that the beauty of the live is 2 things. One, when you go live, I think when that jump off point, you know, when you click live and you're going to channel or serve as a conduit, I think it just kind of flows. I mean, I look at Gary's little pieces he does. He's just sitting out there. Yeah. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, there's stuff that I'm working on, like for the fest, Soulogy Fest, that I'm either have memorized before or I'm going to memorize. So there's something to both parts of it. Yeah.
And I think for something that I'm maybe feeling a little uncomfortable about anyway, it might just be easier if I've got the option of, you know, doing a few takes.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you do? I mean, would you go sit in a fairy glade like he does, or
Yeah,
would
I
you
think
sit
so.
where you're at, or you would? And
Yeah.
and basically you would connect like you would if you were just alone. It's kind of like a spirit walk conversation in the fairy glade, right?
Yeah, and also just doing some videos that are actually just speaking of them, you know, what they are and how to connect with them and how you might know that they're around you. But there are some really beautiful places around here, and some of them actually, some of the best places, there's no internet, which is another reason, you know, to kind of use my phone as a camera. Yeah, and just kind of see what happens, really.
Can you connect to them at will?
Um, yeah, I would say so. Because often
Can you like do you channel them or just have conversations?
it's been more having conversations.
Mm-hmm.
They were some of the, like, angels were kind of what I connected with first of all when I started on this journey. But my Reiki master would speak about fairies, and she believed in fairies, and I was like, maybe there's something in this. And one way, like, this is just coming to mind to mention, if you're out in nature and say there's a blade of grass that is bobbing in a way, there's no wind, but there's a blade of grass that's bobbing. That's one way, you know, there's in all likelihood something sitting on there. Often it's the little sparks of light that you might just see in the corner of your eye.
Yeah.
And I can't always differentiate between when I'm out in nature, like who's actually giving me the messages, whether it's just the trees, or whether you would say that the spirit of a tree is kind of like a fairy anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't always
Well, I mean,
differentiate.
I mean, it's like we have these impressions that are limited by our comprehension, what we've been exposed to, the words and such. So who knows what they look like? But I'm glad you told me that about the blade of grass bobbing up and down, because I noticed back here in this dry riverbed behind me, this little forest, and I know there's fairies and elves, and I've seen a couple of things, and of course I'm still in that. Did I really see that mode?
Yeah.
But I have, and I know they're there, but I've seen a lot of that, mostly in trees, right?
Yeah.
Like there'll be a section, and I've noticed it several times. So I'm glad you told me that.
And you might get like shimmering, you know, in Alien, the film, when the alien's on the tree and he kind of disappears, but you can see like a shimmering, like a heat haze.
Yeah.
That's what I often see. It was interesting when Candice did a Gene Key reading for me. I've got the 19 G key in the middle, and that's to do with being a portal, basically, to connect with other dimensions. And it said that there are 3 Gene Keys that are those kinds of portals, and I've got all 3.
Wow.
So it feels like that was a big message from the universe when I read that, to go, you should be doing a little bit more with this. But I also, you know, like many people, I've been so inward. I haven't really wanted to be filming myself, or you know, I kind of get the message to film myself doing inner work on myself as well, which I guess is for kind of teaching purposes, and also, you know, because that's changed a lot over the years. It's not really what I was taught to do, and it's so I'm getting a bit of a nudge to do that too.
Yeah.
But again, you know, there's a lot of me just sitting there very still in that. So it could be really boring if I was doing that on a live.
Well, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, there's something to be said. You know, the reality that this community shares, which has no doctrine, no dogma. It's just this people showing up and sharing. But in this reality, I think at a minimum, everybody respects each other's reality. And number two, um, many people, the vast majority of the people in this community acknowledge the elementals just as they acknowledge the galactics and the angelic and so on. So if you, you know, are on the outside looking in and you're coming, not that we have to prove anything to anyone because we don't, and you're looking at it, you're going, where's the proof? Now, I think there's been some verifiable stuff that's even been captured on video and images, but there's also the inspirational stuff that people do that in their expressions, whether it be a post or a video or a live. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I think at some point, the the broadcasting of the experience that we pretty much all share, airing it out, getting it out there in the form of what you do when you're doing self work, or us sitting here and saying let's see if we can connect to the elementals. These things without the dog and pony show and the woo woo, just the real nuts and bolts, because we all know you could turn on the camera and do a self-healing session, and you could be laughing hysterically, you could start bawling your eyes out,
Yeah.
cussing and screaming. I mean, there's no telling. So these are the things I think that need to be seen more, is what I'm saying. So, and that's not an easy gig, but I think we've gone pretty far sharing, all of our experiences. Because the big thing I get from the messages and the comments from people is, thank God I found you, because I thought I was the only one. Now I have people, I hear them every day. Well, it's what you wrote. It's what you wrote. The connections, right?
When I used to, when I was still living in Australia, and I was doing activations at the back of the beach, kind of full body light language activations, and I knew that there were people all over the world that were doing that. It never occurred to me that we would actually come together. You couldn't really even conceive of that.
Right. Right. Yeah, I can see that for a lot of y'all. I was talking to Morgan last night because, like a lot of people, this last 30 days has been the most incredible of my life, and the greatest of my life too. Transformations have just been one after the other. And last night, was it last night? I can't remember. Last night or the night before, but I think it was last night. It culminated, and I won't go into details. It culminated in a huge way, and the sum of it all, was that it's a totally new reality, and I could kind of see it and I could feel it and touch it. And I was like, holy crap, like I was on the edge and now I'm here. And it had a lot to do with the masculine, the final step into equality, which we won't get into what all that is and what it was for me. But the point is I told her, I said, people say I've waited a long time, like Marita, like you, like Morgan. I've waited a long time for everybody to catch up. And I told her something like, I can see now why you were alone with other people and even with me when you're in that frequency. So I can understand how you would have seen that, or not been able to see how we were going to come together. People like you.
Yeah, I was doing some work on my masculine yesterday as well. There's a spot on my leg beneath my knee that is holding a lot of pain, and it's been numb for a while. 88 as we're speaking of this. And without going into too much story and too much detail, this is a particular point in my body that holds a lot of energy of an abusive relationship that I was in. And I've obviously held a lot of pain in this particular spot. And it was kind of quite numb when I touched it for a long time. And then a few years ago, in the last 3 years since I've been in the UK, suddenly at some point when I was doing yoga in the morning, if I knelt on that, it was agony. It was like kneeling on glass. And it was like that for a few months. And I felt that it was stuff that I'd really pushed deep, deep, deep down. And that's come back the last couple of days. That's come back. And before that, I'd been working more on my feminine side. And I felt like the book was closed on the work I needed to do with my ex. In something like 2010, I said to him, like, you know, energetically, you are forgiven. And that was a big, you know, that's like, it's done. It's not, I forgive you. I'm still in the process of forgiving you. It's like, you are forgiven. And it really, I saw a book close in my inner vision. But what I was doing when I connected with him yesterday was really beaming out gratitude for everything about that relationship. Like, it went a lot deeper. And it was a really powerful exchange that we had together. And I felt some shifts in there, because sometimes when I work on my body, I've got my hand above and I'm just feeling the energy. And sometimes I pull energy out. But what I was doing with it yesterday was pulling it out, kind of blowing onto it, but then bringing it into my heart, into my, you know, 0 point chamber that is my heart, and then just breathing it out as love. And when I was working on that, I had this really strong feeling of my throat. Like, there was a very, very strong connection between throat. And, you know, there's been a lot of people getting the same message from Mary Magdalene recently as well about us using our voice, like our feminine voice needs to come out. And I'm saying that as, you know, you could be masculine. It's referring to everybody, but it's, you know, that suppression, that suppressed voice, it's time for that to kind of come out. And that's maybe linked to speaking about the, you know, channeling more and letting that intuition voice be heard more.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. And again, that correlates with part of my experience last night, which was a culmination, like all of this stuff is for everybody. But yeah, that, I think it's not, or maybe step one is for that feminine voice in all of us to come out. That happens. And then to listen to it. Like,
Nice.
in the you know, in the experience of our lives, in the guidance that we follow. So all the guidance is structured in straight lines of the masculine, and it's imprinted on all of us. It's a challenge for all of us. If you look at anything, like, just say you're an energy practitioner and you're extracting yourself from the everyday 9-to-5 3D world, and you are in that conundrum of, do I give it away free and the universe is going to take care of me, or do I charge? That's that whole experience that many of us had was a result of coming into it with the construct that we left behind. So I have always heard for 10 years, create your way out. Don't do anything like you've done before. Well, if you look at that in a general way, we've all followed the patriarchal template, which was all divinely orchestrated by all of us. But so what is the thing that we never tried? If in general terms, and you could break it down to individual situations and such, but what's the one thing we haven't tried? So, you know, I really see that the feminine energy has expanded tremendously during this 30-day period. And I think a part of that reason is, or maybe as a result of it, the tail end of this elevation or expansion has been men, or I would say men, but the masculine part of us clicking and getting it. And I think this power is far bigger already. It's far bigger than any matrix constructs, mandates, laws, anything. It's such a pure energy, and I had a very intense experience with it last night. But I would call it the Mother Goddess energy, the divine feminine. But it's on the ground. It's running and it's expanding at warp speed. And it's too bad we have to use words to try to describe it. But because you could call it the Holy Spirit, you could call it a lot of things. But in my opinion, in this realm at this time, it is what you said. It is that Mother Goddess, divine feminine energy rising in everybody, and that includes the voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's, it does take a lot of courage to do what we're doing, putting ourselves out there. But
well, the women especially. I mean, by far, to me, the masculine part, at least the part I've experienced, has been the putting yourself out there has been something that's occurred with me and Morgan, right? Like, so, and energetically it's the same thing, but it's a very, for a man to totally expose himself, vulnerabilities, dive into things that he never even thought of or whatever, that's pretty scary. But I can see the inverse of that is because she's been suppressed and therefore apprehensive, even in this energy. I can see, and we've watched it, 2,700 episodes. So many women have come out, like Marita, and but yeah, but I see a lot of alignment going on. I really do.
Yeah, definitely. I'm being drawn. I bought myself some roses yesterday. I think that's, I'm just feeling the sisterhood of the rose energy really strongly as you speak. And that was a really beautiful show yesterday with Miguel as well. That was the two of you just completely embodying your masculine and your feminine, and not being afraid to show your vulnerability. It's really beautiful. It's really, it's so powerful for a man to be in his heart and sharing from that vulnerable place.
Yeah. Well, that was the first on this show. That was the first, and I hadn't talked to him in over a year. So, it was pretty indicative of at least, as far as I can see from me. I mean, my experience, it's right on the money because, like I said, I went through an incredible finale last night, and I'm not ready to talk about it because I'd like to talk to Morgan more about it. But we talked a little bit about it this morning. But it was not about Todd. It was about, and it was, but I mean, it was about what's at a minimum available collectively. As the individual goes, so goes the collective. There's got to be men all over the world like Miguel, in their own way, doing it their own way. There has to be. It's too thick.
Yeah. There was my masculine was very. It's been an interesting journey to tune into my masculine side and see how he's grown from being like a wounded soldier, was how I first saw him, full of shame and and it's been a really interesting journey to see him kind of rise within me, because I was quite strong in my masculine as a nurse. Like, that sounds bizarre that you should be stronger in your masculine energy as a nurse, which you would think would be a that nurturing kind of job, but there's so much structure to
That's
nursing,
right.
and as a nurse manager, it was I was very stuck in that. Yeah, more balanced now. But even in terms of, like you were talking about before, and kind of business, for want of a better word, and not trying to, there's this tendency to want to like push in that masculine way, but just allowing things to flow has been a real lesson for me since I've moved to this
Yeah.
house. It's been it's getting that balance right.
That is the feminine. So imagine, as a metaphor, this would really hit home, I think, with the men, and maybe that's because I'm a man. But I've always understood that of the 4 or 5 things that Morgan and I are doing, sacred sexuality is one of them. And when you have the opportunity we have, sacred sexuality, which again, as I've said many times, isn't anything like where we came from, any of us. In fact, it's you can't even compare it. One is physical and one is essentially non-physical, with the physical kind of melting into it, right? I guess if theoretically you're doing the right thing, doing what you need to be doing. But so I've always understood that is an opportunity to, at the core, create an energy that then reverberates into all the different aspects of your experience. And so the example would be like this, and this is traditional terms, right? We're talking traditional, because there's obviously same-sex couples and such, and it would be an energetic whatever. But so you're in bed with your partner. You get in to make love, and the man doesn't lead. Now, at first, that sounds like, oh, some kind of dominatrix thing. No. Let her create it. Because, and this, I've been through this. And this, think about this. You can't do anything you've done before. What's been done? Well, he being the masculine energy, regardless of gender, has been leading the way. It's no different than you going to work and you are a feminine, fully connected to your feminine. You go to work in a hospital system that has all these straight lines and structure. And so you're basically trying to train, in essence, and trying to change something. And you're like in a fight with one hand tied behind your back, or both. So it's the same type of thing. What happens is there starts to be a paradigm shift, and it's real. And if I look at the whole world in general, and you can even break it down to a household or a business, let her lead, because we've tried the other thing. Now, is there going to be like a pendulum swings a little bit and then back, as the scales come to balance? I don't know. But I know one thing I've seen firsthand on more than one occasion in different types of scenarios, how that can work and how that will work. So what you said, I totally resonate with. And I think it's not even about a choice anymore. I believe it's happening because there is something or some things bigger than us that are energetically aligning with that, and we will have no choice.
Yeah. That reminds me of, I've mentioned it in the post that you put up about one of Robert Zeppa's. Did you see that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
That was such a
Book
powerful...
Book of Thomas.
Oh, it was that post that you wrote, but it was actually a different video that was looking at different like healing modalities, and they were starting to test one.
Yeah.
And it was like a tantra.
Yeah, it's one. I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
That was very interesting. That activated something in me watching that. I was like, this is very intriguing. And it was, a lot of it was about the power of the female, of the female orgasm.
Yes. I that was a great episode. I remember that one now. Very detailed. Um, yeah, the other thing that the great thing about his work is that we're talking about Robert Sepper, Sepher, which is Atlantean Gardens. He's got 3 or 4 different sites under different names. Is it's kind of like if you wanted a history lesson, just go watch his videos. But he teaches. He tells he conveys the information from a 0 point scientific. He takes into full consideration I'm a human being and you're going to have to prove it. But he respects everything. It's
Yeah.
really cool. But what I was going to say is that 2 things. One is that it is full of code, absolutely full of code. And 2 is if you watch enough of his stuff in terms of primarily, let's just say Egyptian back. There's, from what I remember, every single, and this is not just from one show. I mean, this is from maybe even some other outside research. Every single indigenous system worshipped the goddess.
Yeah.
The goddess was what we refer to as God.
Mm-hmm.
And you go back 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. It's all over the place. So that ought to tell you something.
Yeah. Yeah. I love his work. Thanks for another thank you there for introducing me to his his videos.
He's my dream SouLSPEAKS 5D show.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be awesome.
So and then you mentioned the Rose Ray lineage, which basically, we're talking timeline, at least part of it, Yeshua and Magdalene.
Yep.
Miguel was in Glastonbury. Glastonbury, yeah. He was bringing up Avalon. Saturday, Judith Kuzel was on here bringing up Avalon. 10 days, 2 weeks ago, I started getting these major revisitations from these handful of essences that came in when I woke up, and they were of a biblical nature. So what I'm getting at is one of the things that's happened, and I'm wondering if it's happened to other people over the last 30 days, especially the last couple of weeks, as this information and the energy has been accelerating into our bodies, basically, and the code's coming into our bodies, and we're learning faster, whatever. I'm getting a lot of memories of certain time periods, and it's Egypt, the Holy Land, obviously, Avalon, Inner Earth, Lemuria, Atlantis, and a couple other fuzzy ones. But I wonder if that's happening to people, if the memories are basically carrying some of the code, if not all the code.
Yeah, interesting. And it's kind of like we're tapping into that energy, not to kind of, we're tapping into the when it worked, because if they all kept working, they would still be here now. But there are times like, the golden time of Atlantis, that there are times that we can tap into to bring those energies, like the crystalline energies, the Lemurian crystalline energies, to bring those energies into the now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and Isis as well. Isis has been coming up a lot for me. There's a beautiful Magdalene chapel around here that I go to, and it's always Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and Isis, but Merlin is always with me too.
Merlin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Merlin is so crazy. How it's, again, the sequence of events, they just all are adding up. Like, in those old books when you were a kid and connect the dots, like 1, 2, 3. It's so easy to see. I was told Morgan, I saw Merlin out here in the back for a split second in solid form. So again, like I was asking earlier, if other people are experiencing this. Last night, we were looking for a show to watch on Netflix just for a couple of, like a season or just a few episodes. And I don't even remember the name of this thing, but it's from 2020 or 2021, and it takes place in the Avalon era. And Merlin is kind of like drinks a lot, like Merlin, and he's kind of like in this dark night of the soul thing, but he's still got some power. And then there's Arthur, who's a young boy. He's a knight, but he's not King Arthur yet. And the sword belongs to a woman who they refer to as a fae.
Yeah.
Right. And and I just thought it was really interesting because it just spoke to me in terms of none of the history we have, if you think about it, presents the feminine. I mean, you got a Joan of Arc here, and you got a, Alma there, but I'm talking about like the way. I mean, how like even the Jesus story, he could not have done what he'd done without her, like Judith said, and many other people have commented or reported. She was essentially a master.
And Mother Mary too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I realized quite recently that I had this impression of Mother Mary that she was, a little bit of a frigid nun, really, and it was so wrong. Like, yeah, she kind of connected with me. I had to apologize to her. She taught Mary Magdalene. And knew all that knowledge. She had all that knowledge too.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, what's crazy is there are a hugely significant number of people on the earth who are either at that level or quickly approaching that level of mastery and all of the things that come with it. And we know this in this community because people talk about it and you can see it. It's interesting too to me, Denise, for myself and in observation of others, how we can look at the community news feed, whatever you want to call it, and you can see also the evolution in regard or from the point of view or focus on the ego. You can see how we've been working this stuff out. We've all projected. We've all gotten our feelings hurt. We all this, that, and you can kind of see where that's all going away, and people are allowing for that silence, right? The energetic silence.
Yeah, there's as much power in the in the silences and the space between the words. Sound is speaking of that sound. I've really realized over the last few months just how important sound is to me, and that was one of the things that I was really grateful to my ex for, because he had a music studio, and I learned a lot about waves. Waves of sound waves through that, which helps a lot in my work. And I want to show you this. I got some little toys.
What are those things?
This is a quartz crystal tuning fork. So you can't really hear it very well, but you put it on your body and the reverberation just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. It's just amazing. And, if we hum, because because when we sing, all that sound goes out, but when we hum, all the sound goes into our own bodies. Like I think we only know this much about sound. But this is, look at this.
That's crystal?
Yeah, so this is quartz crystal. I don't know how that's carrying on this.
Sounds real good.
I really want to put my head in it, but I can't. My arm's not long enough.
That's pretty cool.
It's quite heavy.
You up for some light language?
I could feel some codes wanting to come through when I was doing that.
You ever do Fey language?
It's in there.
Or elemental?
Yeah.
I saw a guy at a conference last year, and it was so crazy. It's at the same place where the Soulogy Fest is going to be, and he was an Apache Indian.
Wow.
And one of the things he did, well, he was like an ambassador to the elders, to Sasquatch. So he did their language.
Wow.
And you ever heard their language? It's got those little yips in it, like yip, 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 yip. I can't do it, but he was right on the money. It was so powerful.
Wow. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll come through. There's a bit of a fairy portal in this house. But it'll likely be mixed in with other. Ihyal ehyan anokoye. Iharan oret ikida la baranikit aranakit la bakad an. Horlekileki aratut la bakadaleki tetutun. Hamakaleki haranokututush tatatata. Mikille bidlekidleki tetutata. Iflekileki loret tetutata. Kurleki arana ileki uyatutule bekiana. Araniki aratukula bakarakilla ketutust. Anamakileki aratukule beki tututata. Mikileki aran oy tatatata. Akitust tutata. Mikileki did it line kulibero tutun. Or leki borina nikit unis tata. Ikileki kitlepekututun. Horleki arana kuyish tutata and kutun. Moralaya tototonaki e malakia at utun nakadata. Malakiara ut oi akadlaki totata akit on untbat at o ikita be il ehia ron nukudala. Kiel ehian orut oi at ut Kaleki hort onni hort nukut or npa nikut un. Papa paleki runokot ut akit il runokost I. Hule ay. Und kakalaki hart nevarun dot oi hole haranaki haralaki legedek lebatutun hole keleki haratutun ne harut hart أنا ما كنت لك ولا ما كنت هي أتهورن أيكد أنوش كنت نيت هو لاخرنا كيست أكد أنو هورنا أي كد أن برد أكيد كده أورد برد كله برد أنا ما كنت لك يارنا كده أكد أشت هو الأر نكي أرن هو Holekiaren nikit ai kut on a ast barat ei hart ana makilekira tu hortek hot da akite est it a
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I saw something in the last few days. I can't remember what it was. I think it was two things, and they were talking about sound, and they were talking about how sound is actually the way we will communicate, right? Like that'll be, and not just with each other either, like with everything around us, like the tones we hear and so on. The tones have been really, in alignment. So you could say validation, synchronicity, validation, especially when something's being said or heard that's truth.
Yeah.
Like almost like a synchronistic truth. Like this is true. It happened earlier when you were talking. So far out. So are you still doing sessions online?
Yeah. I can't see Todd. I can only see me. Are you back?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I did that wrong too. What am I doing? How's that?
There we go.
Here we go.
There we go.
Yeah, I wanted everybody to see the pyramid. So what is that pyramid called? Where do you get one?
I got it today from a man in Yorkshire. I think they're just called crystal pyramids. Suzanne has one that's an octahedron. I love octahedrons so much. I wanted to hold out and get an octahedron, but when I heard the sound of that one, I thought, no, that one needs to be coming home with me. And in my mind, there's always two. There's always, the one underneath, the other pyramid underneath, to make it an octahedron anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. I am still doing sessions online, and I've got something coming up on Friday actually that is a Mary Magdalene. Well, it's a Sisterhood of the Rose and Merlin kind of collaboration with a Stargate dragon guardian that appeared.
Where's it going to be at? I mean, how do you find out about it? Where can
it's on my page. I will share it again.
Is it on your Denise Chadwick page or another page? Okay.
Yeah.
Denise.
Yeah, a website is the next thing.
Oh, what's the website?
I haven't got it yet, but that's the next
thing.
thing.
No, I got you.
The next thing to do.
It took us 9 years. So. Chadwick on Facebook for, what's it called?
It's a Sisterhood of the Rose. That's the beginning of it. I can't remember. I can't remember all the rest of it.
Sisterhood of the Rose event, right?
Yeah. So it's this Friday at 6 p.m. on 6 p.m. BST. But yeah, sessions 2. I've been doing less events. I was doing 2 a month, but I've just really needed to do so many hours of inner work at the moment. So I
know it's been like that most of the year, but man, these last 30 days.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. To me, I feel like if you look at it from a mission standpoint, I'm not saying I'm just my own thing, but to me, I feel like we're at halftime. I feel like whatever it is that we had to do in preparation for the second half is completing over these last 30 days. Like, because people are going to the mat. I mean, there's been, not in a bad way or destructive way, just you see a lot of people. It's happening. I mean, I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can really feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be light language, visualization, connecting to the beings, and also I've got some new toys now, so there'll be more in the way of sound as well. So
toys.
I'm looking
some new toys.
Yes, new toys. Very excited.
Very cool. Very cool. It's good seeing you. Good talking to you, and I thank you for all your love and support and contributions and everything, gifts that you've given Soulogy and being a part of Soulogy. So
Thank you, Todd.
Really appreciate it. Sisterhood of the Rose, Merlin and Stargate Dragon Guardian transmission of divine creativity codes Friday. Be there or be square. I love you, Denise.
I love you too, Todd. Have a wonderful day.
We'll be back in 23 minutes with Erin Elm, another beautiful beloved sister.